Hi, my name is Neal, and this is a podcast episode for Pixelsmith Studios. I'm the co-owner of the platform and are in partnership with a couple other friends of mine who have found that there's quite a bit of a gap for platforms that help link creative professionals. There are many out there. Um, we are just one more of those platforms, but we found that we enjoy what we do, and that's why we continue doing what we do. On my screen at the moment, you'll see me busy with a thumbnail for a picture. During this talk, I'll be painting away at this thumbnail, but this talk won't be long enough for me to finish this painting. This talk today is about art growth as a professional individual or professional creative, and tips that I have found during my growth that helped me to become a better artist. And these are not tips about how to paint better, how to use color better, or how to draw better. These are tips outside of those areas. Things that I found helped me quite a bit, firstly, was an attitude of being willing to learn, an open-minded approach to difficult subjects, topics like that, or tips like that. And the first tip I'm going to open with is there is never really an instance where you have someone who's growing and someone who's really trying that produces a piece of bad art. And why do I say this? How can I say that it's not possible for someone who is trying to grow to produce something that is bad art? And it's quite simple. It's because that person creating that piece that they're trying to develop their art skill with, they are giving their best and their absolute best at that moment to that piece. And 2 months from now, that piece won't be as good as what they're producing then, because they're constantly trying to find new ways to express themselves or to create art pieces. And that in turn causes an artistic growth curve. So they're always going to keep on creating art that is better tomorrow than what it was today. But the art pieces they make today are not bad art pieces. It's not going to be a bad art piece. It might be a bad art piece if that artist allows themselves to stagnate. And I say this for myself as well. I've had it happen quite a few times. But if I refuse to stop stagnating and I accept that only when I push myself and go outside my comfort zone, creating pieces that will challenge me, creating art that will challenge me, there will always be mistakes. The art will never be perfect, but the growth from my art will be exponential, and I will grow and create better pieces every day, and every piece I make will be better than the previous one because I try and learn as much as I can from each creative exercise. And that is one of the biggest tips I can give you to help you grow as an artist. Always try to do better tomorrow than what you did today. Give more to your art tomorrow than you are giving today. Yes, art is taxing. Illustration is quite taxing. It takes time. It takes a long time to create one good piece. It even takes a lot of your mental energy. It's not easy to go and create a landscape from thin air, or to draw a piece of a scene where you have people engaging with each other and you're trying to tell a story, you're trying to convey an emotion, you're trying to create something that connects with an audience. And making those scenes or pieces of art takes a lot of resources. It's a process. you'll often hear the term trust in the process. And that process is there for the simple reason that because these art pieces are so taxing, 3 hours or 4 hours after you've started creating your piece, your mind will not be in a space where it was when you started. You'll start to wander. You'll start to find things distract you. Your mood will be different. And all of these will be because you're no longer engaged in the piece that you are creating. That's why you'll have a process. You lay down planning. You lay down quick sketches. And then once you've got your composition locked down and you've got your idea locked down of what you want to make, then you can go in and look at what you'd like to make from these pieces that you've locked down. What do you want to polish? What do you want to develop further? And then from there, you can go further and look at what you would like to create from that piece. Then once you know what you want to create from the pieces you have and what you want to produce from there, you can sit down, drink a cup of coffee, relax a little bit, and then once you get up from there, you can go and paint away because your planning has already been done. So you can go and noodle away at the things that you would like to noodle away at, the things that you want your piece to have. Sorry, I'm looking for a brush. There it is. So the brushes I'm alternating between is Adam Duff's brushes, which you can get off his Gumroad, and there's also the paintable brushes, and then there's the Frank Hong brushes. My favorites is, this is one of my favorite ones that I was using just now. It's the main dry paint texture and Adam Duff brushes, and as you can see there, that's quite a powerful brush, and that's one of the reasons why I like it. But it also has a nice balance between hard edge and a soft edge. But enough about the brushes, because this talk's not about Photoshop brushes. Although, on that I would say, it's important to understand the difference between a skill and using a tool. Photoshop is a tool. The skill in using the fundamentals of the creative avenue you are pursuing, for example, say now it's digital art. Being skilled in digital art means you're able to use the fundamentals like perspective, color theory, composition, and all those things to create art pieces. Then from there, you balance those skills, those fundamentals, into what you would then eventually make an art piece with. So you would find a composition that works, you will set it up, and then render it, and then create this amazing art piece. The fact that you used Photoshop for it, or Affinity Photo, or Clip Studio Paint, or PaintStorm Studio, or Krita, or Photopea, or GIMP, doesn't matter, because those software packages are just tools. They're nothing more. They're just tools. The medium that you used to portray the art piece or to create the art piece in, that be digital or traditional acrylic or oil, or digital going through digital matte painting for photorealism, or if your brief required you to be a bit more cartoonified, that's a medium. That is not your craft. Your craft is using the fundamentals that you've learned to build the art pieces that you're making. That is craft. And you'll often find when someone tells you you need more craft, those are the things they refer to. Like, how well do you balance the fundamentals? With graphic design, typography is a big component of that, and being able to work with type. With illustration, being able to create scenes that portray a moment or that has a strong emotional feeling or settings, that's craft. But Photoshop is just a tool. It's also not a verb. It's a name for a software application. But enough of that. Coming back to your art growth, another tip is being willing to learn, being open to feedback, being open to constructive criticism, being able to take on constructive criticism and make it part of your work, make it part of what you are doing. For example, what I often do, I will post a piece and I'll ask for feedback. Now, I'm not going to go back to that piece that I'm busy with and apply the feedback to get that piece a bit more polished, especially in my personal work, because there's a difference between finished and perfect. And if you're always going to try and make perfect work, you're never going to have finished work. So what I'll do is the feedback that I received on that piece, I will apply to the next art piece that I'm making, or the next photo that I'm going to take, or the next edit that I'm going to do to a video. During my experiences, I found also that that helps a lot for growing, because you need to create a lot of work. You need to create a lot of pieces to grow and to find what you want to make and what works for you. You're going to always try and be better, and that is how it should be. You need to find what works for you and what you want to be good at. So now I've done my thumbnail and I'm blowing it up so that I can see what it looks like. Yeah, this looks okay, but anyway, you need to find your space of where you can be you. And what do I mean by that? When you receive constructive criticism, you need to take it on and you need to internalize it and process it. Sometimes that criticism will sting, and it'll sting quite badly. You might not have been ready to receive it, but you might have had needed to receive that, because constructive criticism, when delivered correctly, is there to help you grow. And being willing and open to receive constructive criticism, internalize it, and make it part of your work is going to help you grow and go a lot further than being rebellious towards it and just shooting it off as it's my art style. That is often a big sign for me of someone who is insecure about their art, and they lack confidence in their own ability, or they're pretty new and they don't really have any art backbone, for lack of better description. And that sort of behavior can sabotage your art growth early on. Another thing I found with art growth is learning the rules properly. For example, with anatomy, learning how the anatomical shapes and forms and limbs and structures work together and form a part of one big organism. Once you understand the human anatomy to the extent that you can draw a human figure correctly and accurately, using references as well, there's nothing wrong with using references, because the human anatomy, although the formula is nearly always the same, people are all different. People look different, they have different ratios, they have different features, and they have different flaws that make them unique. Those flaws are what help set humans apart from each other when it comes to anatomical sketches. For example, someone's arms are a bit longer than someone else's, or their legs are a bit longer than someone else's. Maybe you have a female figure with a thicker neck than the usually perceived female with a thin neck, or you have a male figure with a slightly feminine body. That is fine. When it comes to using human anatomy, those are the things you would need to take into account when you start stylizing the anatomy. And before you stylize any human figure for an illustration, make sure that you understand human anatomy correctly. Anime artists do this, manga artists do this. Your favorite manga show that anime show that you're watching, I apologize, I should have said anime show from the start, but your favorite manga that you like to read, or your favorite comic that you like to watch, those artists spent the time to learn how to draw figures correctly, with correct anatomical proportions and structures. And there is nothing wrong with struggling at first, because you should struggle. If it was easy, everyone would be doing it. There's nothing wrong with feeling like you want to give up once you don't get it right after a few times. But I really want to ask you, push through those feelings, because that means you're growing. And if you can start seeing your own mistakes in your own work, and you start fixing those mistakes as you progress, and when you draw new work pieces, you're like, oh wait, in the previous piece I struggled to do this, let me try and fix it here. Those are signs of art growth, and it means you are developing nuances that make your work stand out, and it means you are growing as an artist. It's important to remember those moments. It's important to remember when you created work that you were really proud of, and when you created work that you really disliked. That is all part of the growth journey. And another thing you'll find yourself dealing with quite a bit is imposter syndrome. And every artist, even the big ones that you look up to, the big names that you look up to, that you probably might not have met yet, but you would love to meet them, all of them deal with imposter syndrome. I've had the fortunate chance of reaching out to a couple artists who I look up to and asking them, have you had to deal with these things before? And they all gave me the same answer. And that answer is every day. Every day they deal with feeling like imposters. And it's also not just artists that deal with that. It's also developers, coders, people who work in fields and industries where they find they want to be. They get the chance to create and to build in the field and medium that they want to build in. Then they feel bad for having that environment that they want to be in. And they feel unequipped to do the work they are doing. And I'm also speaking for myself in this instance. And then you realize, and I realize it every day when I start entering this mindset, is that it's because I find myself trying new things, trying things I'm uncomfortable with, trying things that make me feel I'm not equipped for my job. That could be taking on an art piece that with a composition I've never done before, an anatomical brief that I've never done before, or a video edit that I've never done, taking product photos of something I've never photographed before. And then from there, growing and just doing the work and ignoring the voices of doubt. Because those voices of doubt is imposter syndrome, and it has absolutely no place whatsoever in where you should be and what you should be doing and what you are doing. Because what you should be doing is pushing through those feelings of doubt. Just carry on doing what you're doing, because eventually you'll find your skill level follows up with what you're doing now. It catches up, and you'll find yourself more comfortable with different subject matters, and you'll find yourself more comfortable with the things that you feel are holding you back. And that's okay, because that's how it should be. Then another tip I found for my art growth is not being afraid to clock the hours, because growing in art takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of hours, a lot of effort, a lot of study, a lot of work balance with life, a lot of personal, professional balance, a lot. Because I also have a full-time day job working as a digital content producer. And that is then where I come home the few days that I go to office, and then I'll find I'm tired. I don't feel like doing this work right now, but I have to. And I struggle quite a bit to get myself motivated to do the work pieces that I want to do. But very often I also find myself being able to just do that work, and then I feel better afterwards. And that's also another thing that you need to be aware of, is that you won't always feel like doing the work you want to do. But if you want to grow as an artist, you need to put in the time and effort to do the work. And then as you find yourself doing the work, you'll grow and you'll become better. But yeah, that is pretty much what I thought would be what I want to say. You need to be willing to accept criticism, internalize it, onboard it, and use that in your next pieces and your art pieces. Sometimes even outside of art, with your life decisions. Constructive criticism, when delivered correctly, is a powerful tool for enabling growth. And I really do hope that when you receive criticism, that it is delivered constructively. Then furthermore, being willing to learn, being willing to accept growth is important, because if you're not willing to grow, you're not going to grow. I was told once, you can only help someone if they want to be helped. And the same goes for growth. Someone can only grow if they want to grow. They can only become better in what they want to do if they want to become better. You cannot become better or adopt a mindset of improvement if you don't want to. That is quite important, because if your heart is not in something, if your heart is not in the state where you want to grow and improve, you're going to find reasons and excuses not to do the things you should be doing in order to improve. And it's important that you understand that, because the moment you find yourself making excuses not to do something, you need to find out why you are making those excuses, and you need to solve the problems that you have with those things that you feel are hindering you. And then once you've solved those, you'll find that you're willing to grow and learn and apply what you feel you need to do to grow your art. Then also ask for feedback. Ask for feedback from people whose opinions you value. In this instance, it's important not to ask feedback from a lot of different people. Only one or two individuals who you feel really can benefit you, and then after that you can go and ask for small things or feedback here or there. But it's important that when you ask for feedback, be specific on what you need feedback on. Just posting a picture online and going, tell me what you guys think, opens the doors for people to start critiquing your work without understanding what the criticism is for or what it's supposed to be on. And then they'll critique you based on their knowledge of the subject matter, And if they don't know what the brief was, they're going to give you critique that is irrelevant. Just as much as an art brief is important to what you need to make, being specific about your critique that you need to hear is also important, because critique is very dependent on the goals and objectives you're trying to achieve with your art. If you're doing a study of something, it's important to say that when you ask for criticism, I studied this or that. Here is my reference that I studied from. I paid attention to XYZ. Do you think I accomplished it? From there, you can then go further and try and internalize feedback that you receive that is relevant to what you were just talking about or asking critique about. After that, then you can go, okay, so now I've done this, I've done that, now I want to try something else. And then from there you build on that, and then you expand on that, and that's how you grow. You just make more art and just keep on making more art pieces. You have to really clock hours in this instance to grow as an artist and make more art pieces, but you'll grow and you'll get there. And then lastly, find someone who you can be held accountable to, someone who will look at your work, tell you what you need to improve on, and then you tell that person weekly what you've worked on, what you're going to work on, what you're trying to accomplish with your art goals, and they hold you accountable to what you have set out to do. Well, just these few tips that I've dropped here now will already help you a long way. It'll get you very far, but it'll only get you so far, because you need to apply the feedback and the time and the effort in growing in your art. Ultimately, the only one who is responsible for the growth as an artist is the artist themselves. And you will only grow as an artist if you put in the effort and the time to grow yourself, not just in your art, but also in your life, professionally, personally. And you need to take steps to take care of yourself as well. It's important that you don't let your health go backwards when you're trying to make your art go forwards, because your creative output is directly linked to how well you take care of yourself mentally and physically. Thank you.